Hey everybody, here's a look at the Corpus Christi lithium refinery plant.
Well, hey everybody, I'm back out here at the Tesla Corpus Christi lithium plant near Robstown, Texas, which is also near Corpus Christi. And it's been a few months since I was last here, and I thought it would be a great opportunity on my way down to Starbase to get an update about what is going on with the lithium plant behind me. Now, there is a lot of great change since I was here back in May, and really looking forward to showing you that. The biggest news item for today is what appears to be delivery of spodumene, which is the rock, and also possibly spodumene concentrate-6, which is the raw materials that are needed for an input into this facility, and then it will process it to produce lithium hydroxide, which is a critical ingredient to making cathodes. Now, that material is then shipped from here up to Giga, Texas to the cathode plant, and then it goes through a bunch of other processes, and they are making the cathode materials for the 4680s. And these images here show you a little bit of the trucks that are delivering that raw material over to the materials handling warehouse, and they're kind of coming in from the south side, and that is where we have seen underneath this tent where the trucks are lining up loading ramps so that they can unload the material and then bring it into the facility. It is then moved from there over to the first part of the plant, and that is the pyrometallurgical processing that uses a rotating kiln and cooler to basically process that material and turn it into another material that is needed for the next stage, and that is the hydrometallurgical processing, which uses a bunch of inert mixtures and aqueous mixtures to kind of further refine that, and at the end it comes out with lithium hydroxide. Now, a couple of things about that is new is, one, we are seeing some kind of vapors coming up out of one of the equipment items near where there's some smokestacks, and that's right in that hydrometallurgical processing part of the factory. That is definitely new, and that says that there is activity going on inside there. Also on the kind of the end of the building where the processing and packaging happens for that lithium hydroxide, we see much of the exterior cladding has been applied to that building, and they are adding some more concrete aprons around there to help with the shipping of that final product up to Giga, Texas. Now, there are a lot other things to show you in the video, so rather than talk about it here in the intro, let's get into the drone, let's fly around and see what the lithium plant looks like here today, and a lot of great new developments that I want to show you.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. Well, welcome again to the Tesla lithium plant here in Robstown, Texas, which is very close to Corpus Christi, Texas. Right now, we're looking almost to the north along most of the facility. And what you're going to see as we maneuver around here is that about half the plant has been constructed. Those are those structures with the big kind of white boxes on top on the left of the screen, and that large material processing structure in the left top of the screen, and much of the rest of the facility. Now, what I'm going to do for the beginning of this video is stay up at a high altitude and kind of fly around the perimeter just so you can get oriented to what all is here and how this is coming together. As I mentioned, on the left-hand side of the screen is the first half of the plant. In the middle, where you see that kind of clearing with kind of an oval-shaped pond, that'll be where the second half is built, and then they will be served by that large structure in the top of the screen, which is the materials handling for the raw spodumene materials that are coming in. Now you can also see some of the trailers in the middle of the site. That's where their offices are, and also where that Tesla lithium archway was placed when they did the groundbreaking. As I pull away, we see more of the ponds here on the north end, kind of these trapezoidal shaped. One of them is very much a natural pond. You can kind of see algae and growth in the water. The other one is a new pond that has been lined. And I think that the water here probably serves two different purposes. One, the larger pond is used for drainage and also to help keep the dust down for the construction. The other one, because it is lined, may be a kind of source for water for the facilities themselves, maybe even with a treatment plant, possibly for drinking water. There is no utilities out here, so they needed these ponds to be able to serve that. On the left-hand side of the screen, you kind of see a drainage ditch that kind of goes from the trapezoid pond to the south. That is to ensure that if there's any flooding out here, because this is a low-lying area, that it equilibrates between these ponds and the pond on the south end. As I continue to fly to the kind of the west, we see this large dirt road and the power lines just coming into view underneath the drone. Now, behind the drone is a new substation that provides the electricity for this site, and that's what the power lines are for. And the road is what connects it up to that substation, also to another rural road, and this is where a lot of the deliveries are made to the site. On the upper right, we can tell that there's a material staging yard next to that raw materials warehouse, and another clearing off to the right, which looks like it was maybe just to source dirt for some of the construction. As I get closer back into the facility itself, I'm going to bring the drone down to a lower altitude, and we'll take a look at some more details as we get lower here. On the west side, almost looking at due east. The sun is making it a little bit of a challenge because of the early morning, but I think I can work with it to point the drone down and show you some of these items that have been recently delivered. Now, a few of these were here when we were flying back in May. Some new ones have arrived. And it looks like this may be some additional equipment that will be used as they start to build out the second part of the facility. And that would kind of fill out the entire plant itself. And later in the video, I'm going to show you the render of what it is supposed to look like when it is completed, and a view from a similar vantage point. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit more clear what I'm talking about. But as we fly along this west side, looking at the material staging yard, a lot of the materials have actually been cleared away. Most of them have been installed, which is a great sign. And coming up on the right-hand side of the screen is some more kind of trailers and containers that have been placed in this location. And this is in the general vicinity from about this point over to the material handling warehouse, where eventually we will see a rail spur to the railroad that is nearby. But right now they have not done any of that work. So instead, they're using trucks to deliver the materials. We can see those lined up next to the west side of the material staging warehouse here, and then some other ones getting ready to enter into this Quonset hut tent, and that is where they have loading systems to unload those trucks. And I'll give you a closer view of that here a little later in the video. But for right now, I want to give us a chance to look at the actual plant itself and how it has kind of come together. And what we're going to do is start here at the what's the pyrometallurgical portion of the factory. This is where the materials come in from those large conveyors you see on the left-hand side of the screen next to the warehouse. They are deposited into this rotating cylinder that looks almost rusted, and that is the rotating kiln, which heats it up to a high enough temperature to chemically change it. And the material is then put into the lower one, where you can see the white jackets around the coolers, and that rotating cooler cools it back down to the proper temperature. And that changes it from the spodumene concentrate raw material to the material that is needed for this part of the factory. And this is the hydrometallurgical portion of the factory itself. This uses inert materials and kind of liquid or aqueous mixture to proceed through this entire process with a number of steps to turn that spodumene material that went through the kilns into lithium hydroxide, and that would be the output here. And that's the primary material that is used for battery production up at Giga Texas, specifically the cathode part of that. Now, what we are seeing is a lot of finishing up of this facility. Much of the buildings are completed. And then here towards the end is the raw material packaging part of the facility. You can tell that there is some concrete rebar and forms being placed for probably a apron or a ramp around this part of the facility, and that is definitely coming into view now at the bottom center of the screen and to the left. Also on the right, we can tell that the loading ramp is completed into that receiving door next to those two yellow cranes. And there is some more formwork that is underway to finish up more of the concrete on this side of the factory. And once this is all done, it should have concrete all the way around it, and that will definitely help with the operation of the facility. And this is kind of a pull-away view, just so we can get a good sense of how the plant is coming together right now. Of course, there's still a lot of cranes as there's vertical assembly still underway, but it is to the point now where I believe it is operational to some capacity, and that is in line with what we have heard from Tesla. So let me maneuver the drone around a little bit more, and we'll resume the narration here momentarily. So I've zoomed in. These are the offices and some of the earliest structures that were put in place here when the factory was just under construction. You can see that lithium archway. That is where the groundbreaking took place. And of course, everything that we see now has been added since that groundbreaking, which was back in May of 2023. So we're just over 2 years of construction at this point. Now, as I reposition the drone, I'm going to keep the zoom in, show you some of the materials and workshops that are on the ground level here, plus that packaging and finalizing facility on the left, and of course more of this hydrometallurgical portion of the factory. You can definitely tell that much of the structures are completed, the tanks are completed, the piping and manifold systems are completed as well. Looks like there's a round top structure on the left. And the biggest news is for the very first time, I'm seeing some vapors coming out of the equipment next to these two kind of white painted we call them smokestacks right now. We also see some more vapors on the bottom of the screen. I'll continue to maneuver the drone around here so we can get a good view of this activity. But this is telling me that we are most likely in some level of production. That's why we're getting all of the raw materials delivered. The kilns should be in operation as well. And the final products should be heading up to the cathode plant of Giga Texas. Now, this is a great view of that cooling system with the clamshells on the left and that kiln that's raised up, and you can even see the bearing structure of how it rotates, the loading tower mechanism, and then this kind of an office building with that kind of, I don't know, it's not really a porch, but you can kind of get an idea from this bird's eye view what that looks like here on the west side. Now, I am up at a higher altitude. I wanted to show you what the entire plant, at least this first half of the plant, looks like from this perspective. This gives you a great kind of overall context of how all of this is coming together. Now, the middle section where we see those two white tanks and some of the trailers and structures kind of in the right-hand side of the screen now, that will be shared with the kind of mirror image that will be built on the right-hand side of the screen in that clearing where that kind of oval pond is, and it will mirror what we are seeing here in the middle of the screen. So eventually it'll have two parallel processing parts of the plant, and that will allow them to make quite a large number or amount of lithium hydroxide. So I'm going to continue to fly around back towards the material staging location, past all the cranes, and we'll get in closer to where we can get a better view of the materials that are being delivered into this kind of Quonset hut tent-like structure on the south end. With this zoomed in view, we can tell the loading ramps just inside the opening in that Quonset hut, and two of the trucks ready to maneuver in for that unloading operation. Then the materials are put through this kind of skinny part of the warehouse into the larger part of the warehouse where it is sorted, prepared, and then put into the conveyors that go over to the plant for processing. This is a nice look at the number of trucks that are lined up to bring in their product today. And as I continue to maneuver towards this material staging yard, since we are at a lower altitude, I'll try to give a kind of a better view of the materials, items, and the workshops that are here in this part of the site. On the left looks like another conveyor system, and you can see that conveyor belt and the red and white items. I think that's similar to what we would see inside that Quonset hut tent. More materials and wrapping, white wrapping on the left, and of course the shiny kind of stainless steel tubular-like structures and equipment next to this integrated, almost like a tank, but this is about as close in as I can get. If you happen to know what these items are, please let me know. It looks like these have been stored here for a little while, at least part of these items, and we're waiting for them to have the right time to be installed here. Now I'm going to get into the middle part of the site. You can see those trapezoidal ponds off to the left. Here at the bottom, just over the power lines, you can see where it comes into this kind of a mini substation next to this trailer that was added in several months ago and is part of the power and necessary energy delivery for this plant to operate. We also see many of these kind of spools on the ground that are empty on the right-hand side of the screen, and it looks like some white pipe items with blue wrappings in the middle of the screen, and more of the spools of cable here next to the lined pond. Now, since I am at a lower altitude, I'll give you this closer look at this pond. You can see all of the lined materials. Looks like the pond is drying up to some degree, and that may be because of a need of more rain in this area. If the forecast holds, I think we may be seeing some rain here in the near future, which will probably help them out. But this is a really close-in, low-altitude view to see what that looks like here today. Now, as we continue to fly back towards the main factory, this kind of Quonset hut white rounded top structure was one of the very first structures erected here. In fact, for a while, this was the only structure in addition to the lithium archway. Now it's sort of in the middle of the site. Eventually, this should be replaced with more of an office building that will serve the entire plant. So that work has not yet begun. In the interim, they're using that structure for materials and for workshops. And of course, the trailers here in the middle of the screen are for the offices for the employees at this point in the construction process. Now I'll bring the drone down a little bit lower. You can tell that all of these trailers are added together, so it's one large structure inside. And of course, that Tesla Lithium archway, which is also serving as a food service location, is where it all began. A nice view back towards the main plant and how it looks here today. I would say over the last 2 years, significant amount of changes since it was just a dirt field, and over the last few months, significant changes because now we see, at least to some degree, operation producing the lithium hydroxide here at the plant. So I think that is definitely a big thing for Tesla. So what I'm going to do here is stop the video for a moment at this point of view and change it to the original rendering. This is showing what Tesla intends this to look like when it is completed. You can tell that there's those two parallel processing parts of the line that I mentioned, that center section that's shared, and that new office building that has yet to be built. And as I zoom back into current day, this gives you really a good idea of just how far they have come and yet how far they have to go to meet the intention of Tesla for this plant. The best news, of course, is that it is to some degree operational now, which is in line with the guidance that Tesla has given us. And I know a lot of work has gone into getting it to this point. And this is, as I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, just a nice overall view of the site. Now, there are other plans that we'll talk about in a future video that they want to do to expand this further. But for today, this is how it appeared on Friday, the 22nd of August. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what we were able to see. Take care.